so on and so forth. All right, so that would be my idle up curve. Now notice I've set this curve for idle 1. Well, had I separated it to begin with, when I go into idle 2, it's identical. Oh, and when I go into hold, it's identical. We didn't want that. I probably should have separated hold. But let's say I want an idle up 2 curve that's a little higher RPM, maybe on an electric a flat. So now what I got to do is, there's my normal, there's my idle 1. I need to separate that. All right, now I'm going to go into my idle 2 and I'm going to separate that, and I'm going to go into my hold and I'm going to separate that. All right, so now we're going to go, there's my normal, there's my idle 1. Now I'm going to go into idle 2, and now I can actually increase, you know, if I want, let's say I wanted a flat curve. Let me just remove these points since I don't really need them. I'm going to make it flat and just take that to 100 as well, or delete that point. So now I've got idle up 2's got a nice flat throttle curve. Idle up 1's got a U-shaped throttle curve. There's my normal throttle curve. Now the problem is hold, because I had it combined, hold is just like my idle 1. What I want to do is I want to just come in here and reset this, or you could. Now there's a hold menu, all right? So here's the deal. I'll just talk about this a little bit. There's a hold menu that overrides whatever this throttle curve is set to for hold. You see I'm in hold. It overrides it. That's what your hold menu does. Some people seem to think you need to go in here and set for a flat 0 throttle curve. You don't actually have to do that, but if you wanted to, you certainly could. So let me take this down to 0. I've removed all the other points, so it'll just bring it down to a nice flat 0. You don't have to do this, mind you. When I show later the throttle hold menu right here, this will, once activated, will override whatever your throttle curve is for hold. Make sense? So there we go. We've got my normal curve, we've got idle 1, we've got a flat 100% for idle 2 if that's what you want to do. Hold, we've got a flat 0 if that's what you want to do. You don't have to. Matter of fact, I'm just going to reset it. And so on and so forth. So that is pitch and throttle curves. I think I've covered everything. All the other stuff like acceleration and expo and all that is identically the same. Once again, you do not need to set a switch for any of your throttle curves either. That is what the condition menu's all about. Do it properly. But anyway, that's pitch and throttle curves. By the way, I thought I'd touch on a couple of things, and maybe you saw me fumbling a little bit while I was trying to show you how to add and remove points. So as you see, I have this reduced curve here, and if I go to 0.50 and hit reset and remove it, 0.4, which is center stick, and remove it, when I add it back, it's going to try and add it back in a linear fashion. So as you see, the rate is 57, and I'm at center stick. Let's say I wanted that 50. Well, it doesn't add it back at the default point, all right? What it does is it tries to calculate a linear curve between the two. Of course, if I turn on Expo and add it back, now it's 54. It's calculating an exponential type of curve between the two. So let me turn that off. So if I actually want that point back at 50, when I turn it back on, I literally have to change the point back to 50. So some of you guys saw me kept clicking here, you know, doing that kind of thing. Touching here does nothing, all right? All right, so the next thing, and this is a unique tip. So let me go into throttle curves just to do this example. So there's my normal throttle curve, and I'm going to go into idle 1, and I have this U shape, right? So let's say my heli's spooled up on the ground. I'm at low stick, right? All right? And I want to change a curve, or let's say I'm actually in hold. And I want it, and matter of fact, you want to be in hold because you're going to be moving your throttle stick to do this. But let's say I want to change my throttle curve for idle 1. And my heli's on the ground, it's a nitro, it's running, and I don't want to have to go kill the motor to go do that. Well, this is a unique feature of this radio. Some other radios have it, others do not. Like a DX7, if you want to go in and change the throttle curve for idle 1 or 2, you actually have to flip the switch and go into it. All right. In this radio, what you can do is you can just touch it here, and there's my idle up 1. And let's say I want to change that curve a little bit. All right. Now I need to get to this point. So to do that, I need to make sure I'm in hold, or it will spool up. But I'm looking at the curve. Notice it's in black. All right. Let me come out of hold. Let's say I go into idle up 1. All right, notice it's in black. That means my switch is not currently in that condition. If I flip my switch into that condition, notice the black went away. If I come out, it takes me to the switch condition, and I can go back. So what that means is the switch is not in that condition, but yet, because I touched the screen here, I'm now able to adjust that condition. All right, so I need to move to that point. Let's say I just want to drop that point a little bit. All right, and I just did without going into the idle up 1 condition. Now again, because I had to move my throttle stick to get to that point, you want to be in hold, electric or nitro, and then go into that condition and change it. So this allows you to change points in a condition without actually physically going into the condition. All right, but because you have to move the throttle stick to get to your points, you want to make sure you're in hold and that you have a hold set up. All right, so just a couple other little touches on those curve menus and what touching the screen here for the condition does versus actually flipping the switch. All right, hope that makes sense, and we'll move on.